Secret.
Sneakret talking?
Sneakret?
Sneakret.
Sneakret. Hello and welcome to Negative Space, a podcast where art students talk about art. Today we are gonna not talk about art.
No.
Stunning.
This is happening more and more frequently. We're talking less and less about the actual subject.
Well, also, congratulations. Today is our 5th episode, which means we've been doing this for 1 whole month.
Oh. Yep. Just,
First, heads up, this episode is going to be explicit because we're going to talk about some things that just require some swearing.
That's how upsetting they are.
Mm-hmm. Today's topic is going to be internet bullshit, something that I think everyone has experience with.
And so it begins. Yes, whether you know it or not, you have experienced internet bullshit.
I think that's an interesting thing. Like, some people may have experienced internet bullshit, but
they just don't know.
They didn't realize it was bullshit.
Yeah.
Everything you read on the internet is true, kids. All of it.
Everything you read on the internet is actually fake.
But doesn't that make it true in the context of the internet?
Yeah, so, in retrospect, I guess everything you read on the internet is true. We don't need to have this podcast anymore. It's over.
I know. Alright. That was a good run. Bye.
Yep. Goodbye. And a podcast.
So the reason this came out was because, the reason this came up was because we were talking about the M drive, or EM drive, or whatever this is. Basically, a couple months ago, this was going around that NASA had invented an engine that basically could produce thrust with no input. Basically, like, it could propel itself without consuming energy or matter.
Yeah.
So basically, it violated every law of
physics
and conservation of momentum, and we were just talking about that.
Yeah,
because it's sketchy as hell.
It is the way that it's like especially because the article that I looked at, like, already with the concept of a warp drive being extremely sketchy, especially since, like, I haven't heard about it on the news or anything. I was like, what the the article that I originally glanced at momentarily made it seem extremely opportunistic, like this could happen, like, in the very near future, like we could be going to Mars within the next couple months, right?
Mm-hmm.
So already I was like, that sounds fake.
Smells like lies.
It smells like lies, goddammit. And that already made me very, very suspicious, just the concept in itself being extremely unlikely without having that much coverage of it beforehand. That, as well as the fact that the article that I was looking at used a picture of the starship, like the Star Trek Enterprise.
Amazing.
In the thumbnail, and I was like, yep.
That's one way to make
that's
your article
trustworthy.
Look
legit. I do not doubt this at all. So there were those two things, and I was just like, no.
And it's funny because when you search it up, you get a lot of articles. Like, there are a lot of articles about it.
You do.
But if you look carefully and you click on each of those articles, every single one of them is from sketchy websites that, like, you've never heard of before.
Yes.
And that's just the interesting thing about the internet, is that, like, if you put something out there, then it feeds off itself, you know? Like,
yes.
One site will pick it up, and then other sites will pick off that site, and then the first site will use those sites as, like, reference to, even though they were the first originators of it, you know? It's like the feedback loop of false information.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. Have you ever... Okay. I don't know if you've ever had experience with this, but did your mom ever get into that Asian chainmail, like, phase?
Go on.
So I guess that's a no.
No, keep talking.
So, okay. My mom didn't get an email address until a couple years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was, like, all, like, pretty new to her.
Yes.
And when she first got her email, she would just assume that everything that came into her inbox was, like,
legitimate,
like, real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she'd have these friends who would send her chainmail about, like, I don't know, like, the dumbest things. Like, this guy is a massage therapist that's invented a way for you to, it's just, like, the crazy kind of things. But even better, like, they were all in Chinese. Like, which
Chinese
made, for some reason,
10 times better.
Yeah, for some reason, it made her think that they were more legit.
Yes, absolutely.
And she would forward these emails to me, and she's like, "Is this real? Like, have you read this?" And I'm like, Mom,
never.
You're like 10 years late to this, but I'm gonna explain to you the concept of spam.
Yeah. Yep. My mom was never like that, because my mom is pretty no nonsense. Like, she won't deal with any bullshit. Like, it's not the fact that she wouldn't believe it, I don't think. I think it's that she hasn't even reached that point yet, right? Like,
yeah.
She uses the internet minimally. She, like, just uses her email to, like, talk to, like, school moms and stuff, and, like, her sisters, and that's it. So she doesn't really use, like, it for her social life. Her entire social life is, like, out in the real world. So, yeah. I mean, because I wouldn't doubt my mom being tricked by that, though, because, like, once she tried to she was looking for pictures of leprechauns to print out and put on my sister's, like, leprechaun trap thing for elementary school,
right?
I
think I remember this, yeah.
Because, elementary schools, like, they'll have you make, like, leprechaun traps. And I was walking by her while she was looking this up, and I see her, like, mouse over this link that says freeleprechaunpictures.zip, and I just run over and grab her hand, and I'm like, Mommy, no. No.
freeleprechaunpictures.zip.
.zip, yeah.
I think that should be the title of this podcast.
It was pretty amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but no, like, I don't doubt that she could be, but she's just not interested in that stuff. So, like, but it's just the fact, I think the reason why it confuses people who aren't that experienced with the internet is because, like, it just, when you see something written down on, like, in text,
mm-hmm.
and, like, written as a quote-unquote article, you just, like, a lot of people automatically trust it. Like, it's like reading a tabloid, right? Like, some people, like, they just trust tabloids for no discernible reason. So, like, yeah, it's just, like, that same concept of, like, oh, well, it's, like, you know, written down like this, so it must be true. But on the internet, that is, in real life, that can already be untrue, but on the internet, that is, like, infinitely more likely, because there's no way. With a tabloid, you have to, like, be able to print it and all that, and, like, have the money to do it, but on the internet, you don't need to use any money to, like, make a fake article most of the time. You can just do it. So, yeah, that's why a lot of people fall into that trap of, like...
Yeah, it's just, like, it's a holdover from when you could trust newspapers.
Yes.
Because, I mean, it costs a lot of money to print newspapers, so if you're going to print something, then you better make sure it's true.
Yeah.
But on the internet, it costs nothing.
It doesn't.
To put something up there. So, you know, you just say whatever the hell you want, and it doesn't cost you. And people are just used to trusting what is written down and what's read. I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you think you see on a daily basis on the internet that is lies dressed up as fact?
Too much to count. Too much. I don't, like... But the thing is, my brain pretty instantly, like, can discern what's fake and what isn't, just based on, like, you know, the source and, like, how feasible it is. And there's some things where, like, it wouldn't hurt if it was fake because it's realistic enough. It's like, oh, whatever. Like, if it's, like, a joke, like, you know, I don't know, some sort of joke about something that a person did, it doesn't really matter if it's real or not because it's just a joke. But,
yeah. Like,
you know, like, so things like that, I think I see more than I could possibly even put a number on.
Yeah. Back to the warp drive stuff. Like, how do you... I don't know. How should I put this? If you see something and you're like, oh, I think that's false.
Yes.
And you Google it, what's your threshold for, like, this is fake and this is real? Like, what do you look for to confirm that something is real?
I look for, like, either direct sources to, like, if it's talking about a company or something, I look for direct sources of it, or, like, you know, like, things like websites that I trust, right? Like, you were talking earlier when we were talking about, like, whether this, the subject that we were talking about was legitimate or not. You said, oh, look, there's an article on Wired about it, and then we talked about it, and, like, it kind of, you know, took apart some of the stuff, like, the idealistic stuff that other articles were talking about, like, we're gonna go to Mars, and it's like, actually, this is pretty largely theoretical still, and, so, you know, stuff like that, like, trustworthy websites, trustworthy people, direct sources, that sort of thing. Even Snopes, I think, is, like, I'm not entirely sure sometimes when I check it.
Oh, really? I think Snopes is pretty good because they always have sources.
True.
Like, you can always check what their sources are, even if you don't believe what their, like, actual article says.
Yeah.
So they'll link to, like, legitimate sources. So it's a good place to start.
It's a good place to start, but, like, you know, I still want to look into it further after going to that site.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if this M drive is on Snopes.
I looked for it a couple times using for keywords.
Is it not? Oh,
it's
no,
not.
I don't see it.
I was kind of surprised, because that seems like something that's, like, such a big deal to people that they cover it, but...
Yeah. Snopes is usually pretty good about catching this big stuff.
Right? I was like, pretty legitimately surprised. I was like, what? Snopes? Snopes,
Maybe
you're gonna help me out.
It's true, Simone.
Yeah.
I think part of it, too, is, like, this kind of headlining thing where, you know, sometimes all you have to do is read a headline, and then if it's captivating enough, you just share it, or you just assume that it's real.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god. So, you don't check Facebook that often, right?
No. I mean, I check it, like, sometimes, like, once a week, maybe.
But you know Mr. B's Facebook?
Yes,
like,
and how it's incredible?
We've talked about this. Mr. B, one of our old teachers in high school, he has just an incredible Facebook account where he posts all sorts of, like, crazy satirical, like, things, and sometimes he'll post articles, like, especially now because it's the presidential season, he'll post articles that, like, are about the presidential race, or, like, articles that have really weird headlines that relate to mocking, like, Republican presidential candidates.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even remember. He posted one a while ago. It was like Ted Cruz can't identify a vagina or something like that.
What?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I saw that one. It was like totally made up though.
Right, and he had just put a link to it, like, on his Facebook account, and he just says, no, like, man, like, how stupid, da 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 da, and it was, like, kind of clear that he thought that it was real, and if you clicked on it, it was a satirical news site.
Yeah.
You know?
Was it The Onion?
And
I
it's
can't
like,
remember.
No, it was just one of those, like libertyfreedompaper.com, you know, like one of those ones that you go and it's like, oh, and then at the bottom it says this is a satirical news site.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think sometimes what happens, especially on Tumblr too, is that if you just put the word source and then a link on it, people will assume that source is legitimate, even if they don't actually click through the source.
Yeah.
Like, what happened before, I remember this, was that there was an infographic, I think it was a couple years ago, back when, was it the Fukushima nuclear disaster happened?
Yeah.
And there was some map, there's like, this is the fallout radiation from Fukushima, and it was like this heat map of, like, where that radiation was supposedly going, and, like, how it was, like, all over, like, the west coast of the United States or something. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, the government's covering this up, and then there was, like, a source to it, and you click through the source, and it was a really popular post, and people were like, oh wow, like, this is crazy, look at this source. But you click through the source, and then this website is full of other articles, like, amazing articles, like why reptilians are taking over the government.
It's a tabloid online.
It's just amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes you can't even tell if they're serious or not. Like, do some of these websites obviously post that they're satirical news sites, but some of them are just full of articles that you can't tell. Like, maybe someone who, like, is really seriously deluded could be running this website and actually think some of these things that these articles are talking about.
Yeah, and there's also, like, the fact that some of these websites, I think, are legitimately trying to, like, make people believe these things, like, either for their own profit or just, like, you know, to mess with them. Like, they want them to believe it, but there are some that are doing it and they want people to be aware that it's, like, a joke, right? Like, it's a joke. Yeah. It's not it's satire. It's not actual, like, they hope that you think it's real. Like, to a certain degree they do, but, like, it's sort of like an inside joke, right? And as unlike some other ones where it's just like they're hoping that you will actually believe it. I'm sure it does exist, but have you seen any real life satirical magazines? Like, just full on, like, The Onion in print?
No. I mean, who would ever put the money out there to print a satirical, like, newspaper?
I guess.
Right? It costs so much money. It costs so much money to print things that it wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't make any money off of it, really. Because no one wants to advertise in a satirical newspaper also.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of the problem. That would be crazy, though.
I know, right?
What if someone just went to The Onion and printed out, like, every single article in The Onion?
Like, formatted it?
And then just, like, slid it into, like, New York Times stacks.
Just, like, try to pass it off as another New York Times, like, with all the right font and everything, the right sort of, like, newspaper. And it's just, like, Ted Cruz can't identify a vagina.
Yeah.
National news.
But surround it with, like, other totally legitimate articles, and then, like, you just happen upon it, and it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. It's like, you know, the basic subject of each of the articles is exactly the same in the newspaper that day, except that they're entirely, like, just unreal.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that any of this could happen. And it's just close enough to the original newspaper that, like, you look back and forth and you're like, what? No. There's no way.
Okay, I'm gonna send you a link here.
Wow.
And you can look at this. I think this is a new brand of internet bullshittery that has come with the success of Kickstarter and crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah.
And that is...
Oh, I remember seeing this going around.
Bullshit crowdfunding campaigns. Like, this is a new thing. I mean, I don't know if it's, like, new, but recently there have been a couple that have come through that are just really interesting. Like this one. So I just sent you a link. That's for something called the Scribble Pen. And apparently the way it works is you can use the Scribble Pen to scan a color. Like, it's got a scanner. And then it has a CMYK ink cartridge inside the pen that allows you to draw in whatever color you just scanned.
Yeah.
And it's 100% fake. Like, this is apparently, like, their second or third Kickstarter project for the same product that I don't know if their previous ones didn't work or if they just got found out, but basically these guys are, like, professional crowdfunding campaign
con artists,
like scammers. Yeah. And this one too, here I'm going to send you a link to this thing called the Telspec. It's like a handheld device that allows you to scan food and then connect to an iPhone app, and then by scanning it, it'll tell you the exact chemical breakdown of whatever food you just scanned.
Sounds
like how much gluten or salt is in it.
Wow, that sounds totally legitimate and not made up.
I know. It's just, I think crowdfunding campaigns just add another layer of legitimacy to it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there are some things that are really extraordinary that are on crowdfunding campaigns that you see and you're like, wow, that's incredible. Like, this makes sense, you know, in my head. I'm sure that someone was actually able to create it. But it's people, if they have good video editing software, they can make anything look real.
I worry for people like my mom, you know, that, like, will download free leprechaun pictures.zip. That's the people that I worry about going on the internet.
Yeah.
Just because they don't understand. And it's not really by any fault of their own, they're just inexperienced. But it's especially dangerous the older you are because, like, you're more likely, you're able to give out your money, right? Like, when you're a kid, it's not like you can just put your credit card information into a website and do something stupid. Yeah. Because you don't have a credit card when you're 8. But, it's just, if I could get a job just watching over older people Or people who don't know how to use the internet and, like, tell them what to do and what not to do and what to believe and not to. I would make so much money because I am...
Just be their internet nannies.
I would be a great internet nanny.
Yeah, I bet you would.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then there's this... I feel like this ties into conspiracy theories a little bit. I think it's the same reason that people like to believe conspiracy theories. So I've written on the show notes alien astronaut theory. Do you know what this is going to be about?
Hold on. Is this the pancakes one?
What?
Never mind. Oh wait, no, is it the one about how Neil Armstrong is an alien?
No.
Which one is this?
This is the one involving my dear lovely father.
Oh.
Who is convinced of alien astronaut theory. Let me explain.
I'm waiting.
Alien astronaut theory is basically the idea that human beings were... early civilizations were helped by aliens to build their civilizations.
Oh, right, this one.
And that human life was, like, brought to Earth by aliens? Or, like, alien overlords have been watching us this whole time? My dad totally subscribes to this. And I blame the History Channel 100%. There's this History Channel show that's called Ancient Astronauts or something, like Alien Astronauts or something, and he, like, would watch every episode of that show, and he's every time this comes up, every time, like, aliens comes up in any way, he'll be like, oh yeah, no, they're already here, or something. And it's just like, how could the Egyptians have built pyramids, huh? Like, they couldn't have... Like, okay, listen, Dad. A pyramid is, like, the simplest possible form that you could build. Like, it's a square with triangles on the side. Like, and it's the most... He's like, yeah, well, why do all of these ancient civilizations all around the world all build pyramids? And it's like, well, because it's a stable structure with a large base and a small, like, top.
Yeah, it's like the sort of, like, biggest thing you can make without, like, not modern technology, but, you know, like, more modern building practices, right? Is like, because it's just like all layered on top of each other and smaller, so it's more feasible.
I don't know, I think part of it is that, like, people don't want to believe that ancient civilizations were, like, smarter than white people at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess.
Like at that time, yeah, like, Europeans and Anglo-Saxons were, like, kicking around in the dirt or something, but, like, oh yeah, all of these civilizations were building calendars and clocks and giant pyramids, but, like, oh, if white people couldn't do it, then I bet these, like, other people couldn't have done it. It must have been aliens. So there's I think there's a grain of something there.
There's actually I was in a class and we're talking about pyramids, right, and, like, how they were built, and it's actually like, it's pretty impressive, you know, because concept of, like, how they got them up there, most people aren't entirely sure or, like, solid on what method they used, right? Especially because the giant blocks that they used were so huge. Like, they were just like, what the how? How did they do it? So my teacher told us about one of his students who was, like, doing research on if they got it up there with kites. Like, they just... Like, and, you know, everybody's like, oh, it's bullshit, you know, it's not, they wouldn't be able to get it up there with kites, and, like, she, like, did experiments, and, like, they did it, and she was like...
Really? That's awesome.
And she was like, you know, since it's physically possible, maybe they did it with kites.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was awesome, because they did the experiment with, like, you know, these giant, I'm not sure what kind of rock they were, but, like, giant slabs of, like, the same sort of rock that they used, and then, like, you know, all the same, like, they, like, mailed in, like, papyrus and stuff to America to perform this experiment. It was pretty crazy. But yeah.
That sounds highly improbable, but super cool.
Yeah. I wouldn't have trusted it if I just read it online, like, you know, Egyptians made the pyramids with kites. But, like, since my teacher knew this person personally and, like, that, I kind of trust it more. Yeah. You know? And if he just said some random person did it, I would be like, oh, whatever, it's fake. But, like, he's like, no, I know this person. And, you know, I'm a professor. And I was like, Oh, okay. That could hold some... That could possibly be real. Yeah.
That's a legitimate source right there. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Also, did you see there was an article going around about I think it's Sneferu's pyramids. It was basically one of these Egyptian pharaohs who wanted to build himself a really cool pyramid, but his pyramids kept falling apart.
Yes, I learned about him.
Right? And he like tried to build this one pyramid, and he was really ambitious, and then halfway through he realized that it was going to collapse in on itself, and so he slanted the walls so that the pyramid basically has like 8 sides now instead of 4, because he slanted the walls even further in halfway through building it.
What?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
I remember talking, like, the inner structure of the pyramid, that one of the pyramids that failed, like, it was kind of like, it was hollow on the inside. So
yeah, here it is. It's the bent pyramid.
Oh, yeah, that one.
It's a pyramid that goes up, and then halfway through the wall changes angle.
Yeah, but it doesn't
and slants forward even more.
Okay, when you said 8 sides, I thought you meant, like...
Oh, no.
I was totally confused. Yeah, I know this one.
Sorry, that's misleading.
Yes.
There. But basically, it's not like these guys, like, out of nowhere suddenly were able to build huge pyramids. It's like, no, they made mistakes first, and they realized what they were doing wrong, and then they were able to build good pyramids after that.
Yeah, Sneferu is the one that, like, kind of was the giant pyramid innovator.
Yeah. And he messed up a bunch.
He did mess up a bunch, but in the end it turned out successful, didn't it?
Sounds just like art.
Sounds just like life. I am relating to an ancient Egyptian, or what are they called? Pharaoh. God.
Yeah.
Just forgot for a second.
Nice.
Yep.
So anyways, that's my ancient alien astronaut theory. My dad just totally, like, there's no way to talk him out of it. Like, he's just so convinced. Like, and what's even weirder is that my dad is, like, Buddhist. So I haven't asked him about it, but, like, how exactly are you going to relate ancient astronaut theory to, like, religion? Like, this makes no sense.
I can see how you do it, but, like,
it's just weird.
The thing about that probably is most frustrating, like, with dealing with people like that, is that there's no way to directly disprove it or prove it either way.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So if they're like, oh, well, it's totally real, and then you say, well, it's not, and they'll be like, oh, prove it, you can't. And then the other way around, like, oh, it's totally not real. Well, it's totally real. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I talking about? I'm sorry.
Well, I was talking to one of my TAs in my comp and painting class about this too.
Yeah.
Like, she also was like, "Oh, I think that the government is hiding aliens from us. Like,
Totally.
I think that aliens have come to Earth and it's just the government's just covering up." And it's like, no, okay, listen, like, I understand that that's, like, a popular theory, and people like to think that the government is hiding a lot of secrets about things that, like, are revolutionary that no one knows about. But if aliens had come to Earth, we'd know, okay? It's not like, even if the government was hiding it, it's not something that's as easy to cover up as just, like, oh, just put a wall around it, Call it Area 51, it'll be fine.
Who is it that I knew that, like... Oh, no, I didn't actually know anybody. Never mind. That is a story from someone else.
Oh, good.
No, but, like, it's just... I love those theories. Like, I love talking about, like, alien conspiracy theories with the government, but I don't really take it that seriously. Like, I'm just like, haha, yeah, the government's totally covering up aliens. And,
yeah.
I'm not gonna, like, fight for it. Like, if somebody says, oh, that's totally not true, I'd be like... Yeah, you're right. But, like, if somebody said, oh, it's totally true, I would also be like, yeah, you're right. I just think it's entertaining, It is.
It is fun stuff.
I like to entertain the concept of it. But, like, if it turns out to be wrong, I won't be that bothered. And if it, like, turns out to be true, I would be like, I wasn't expecting that, but whatever,
Well, like, in a life or death situation, just theoretically, you'd be like, no.
Yeah.
Aliens, the government is not covering up alien conspiracies.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think the same way that these things appeal to people is the same way that like fake articles appeal to people, because they're interesting and they seem like they have just enough sourcing and just enough proof behind it that it seems like it could be real, like as long as you don't dig too deep and you don't think about it too hard.
They have just enough of a lack of disproof, you know?
Yeah.
That is what really holds people back, is like, because as long as it can't actually be disproven, they will believe it.
What are your tips for avoiding misinformation on the internet?
If it seems like something that should be a big deal and you've only seen it in one place, probably not true.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. I think that's the same reason that I don't really buy into this alien thing, is because if it was real, it would be a big deal.
They have TV channels about it, Sam. Alien astronauts. Come on.
Shit. Confirmed. I was saying, do you want to talk about your favorite conspiracy theories?
And this sort of subject is perfect for me because I'm a big fan of cryptids, right? I, love looking into stuff about cryptids and, SCP and all that terrible, horribly fake stuff. So, I'm really into this, but, for all y'alls that like cryptids out there, my favorite is the Flatwoods Monster, which is an alien. And it looks beautiful. It's like wearing a dress and a headdress. I love it.
Where is it? Supposedly.
It's on the East Coast somewhere. I think 90% of cryptids are on the East Coast. It is the Braxton County Monster. Where's Braxton County? Why aren't you telling me? West Virginia, yes.
Does it just wander around, or does it eat people? Does it kill sheep?
I don't know. It's just a weird alien thing. I don't even know that much. I haven't gone into that much research about it. I've just heard of people seeing it, right? I've heard about people seeing it and the fact that everyone thinks it's an alien. Mm-hmm. And that it looks like it's wearing a dress.
I feel like in recent years there's been a rise in TV channels about this kind of thing too.
Yeah?
Discovery Channel and Animal Planet used to be we're gonna follow this family of meerkats or something.
Yeah.
It used to be and nowadays it's I Shouldn't Be Alive, stories of horror from when I got trapped in a cave or something. And it's like these really kind of sensationalist TV programs that tend to run nowadays on Discovery Channel and Animal Planet. Mm-hmm. And I think there's two shows actually specifically about hunting Bigfoot. And
yeah.
And by the end of it, they never actually, of course, they could never actually find Bigfoot.
Yeah, those shows are really boring, actually.
Yeah, and it's just they wander around at night or something, and a twig breaks, and then they oh, that was Bigfoot.
Yeah, they freak out a little, and they're, oh my god, Bigfoot, and then they pull out the camera, and they're kick Bigfoot, and they're all excited, and it's totally
yeah, it's just. It's the same, I don't know, and the fact that it's on TV is just another layer of legitimacy that will make people buy into it even more.
Yes.
You can never trust anything.
Nope, everything is fake. This is not even including the internet anymore. Everything is fake. Don't believe anything.
Everything you believe. Not even us.
Yep.
Everything we've told you today is a lie.
We're lying to you.
Yeah.
So in turn, if everything is fake, everything is real.
Yeah.
And then fake again.
Mm-hmm.
And then real again.
Have fun figuring that out.
Yep. I like the oh, you know what? You asked me about conspiracy theories. I couldn't come up with a conspiracy theory specifically. I remembered one now.
Oh,
My
yeah?
favorite one is, and this is inclusive of the flat earth theory, right? The world is not round. It's the theory that the world is flat. The theory that the world is flat, but plus that, on the edges of this flat earth, there are frost giants. That blow, they blow air, and that's why we have wind. Is because there are frost giants living on the edges of our flat world.
Hold on. Are you sure this isn't a Norse myth you're reading?
No. This is real. I'm serious. Like, there are people who believe this today, and they think that the government is trying to cover it up. And I remember I read, like, I think it was an AMA or something, where one of the members was just like, well, or no, somebody was asking, like, one of the members, like, how do you, like, explain plane travel then, right? Because you can go around the world. And they're like, oh no, the government just tricks you. They just pretend that you're going that way. And it's like, what?
God. Every single airline
is in on it.
Amazing.
But then it wouldn't.
I mean,
go on.
There was the whole thing recently, right? Because who was it that tweeted about flat Earth? Was it B.O.B.?
I don't know. It was some B.O.B. rap artist that nobody's ever heard of.
It was B.O.B. He's a rap artist, and he basically tweeted about like, at first it sounded like a joke, right? He's like, like, he said something about flat Earth theory, and then he was tweeting about how like, because he was, I think, on the weather balloon that, you remember when they did that when that skydiver jumped from that, he broke an altitude record.
Yeah.
It was like the Red Bull jump, and he was apparently, I think, on that platform with him, and he was like, yeah, when I was up there, you couldn't see the curvature of the Earth, so the Earth must be flat. And people were like, hang on, so you think the Earth is actually flat? And then he got into a whole fight with Neil deGrasse Tyson over it.
Yeah.
Do you remember? He wrote a rap about how Neil deGrasse Tyson was like not dumb for not believing in flat Earth theory.
Yeah.
And then Neil deGrasse Tyson went on some late night TV show and
rapped back.
Had a rap battle.
Yes. No, like, that entire thing was pretty incredible. And my favorite part about it is that I still don't know if that guy was being facetious or not. Like,
no, I think he was entirely...
I'm not sure.
Just genuine about it.
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure.
But, like, what reason would he have to make it up?
Maybe I have too much faith in the human race. I don't... I don't believe that anybody could actually do that. Like, take it to that degree. No way.
Yeah. I don't know. And then, you know, I don't know, I feel like Neil deGrasse Tyson has been getting into all kinds of hot water lately, because there was another thing that he did. So Neil deGrasse Tyson is on Twitter a lot.
Yes.
He tweets a lot. And I think a couple weeks ago he tweeted something that was like, it was like Neil deGrasse Tyson shower thoughts. You know? He like tweeted something that said, if there were any species for which intercourse was painful, that species probably died out.
Yeah.
A long time ago. And, you know, obviously a lot of people pointed out to him that, well, there are some species that, like, intercourse results in death. Mm-hmm. So I think you're probably wrong here. And a lot of people were like, really upset at him about that.
What?
Because it's because I think the reason that people were upset was because he's a credible source, you know? True. And if he tweets something, like, does he have an accountability to tweet things that... If he tweets something that sounds like a fact, like the way he tweeted it made it sound like he was giving a fact, does he have responsibility to make sure that is actually a fact? Because he is a science educator, and he has this huge Twitter following, and he's a respected member of the community. Like, does that make him responsible for it, do you think?
I think that a person's allowed to make mistakes. Like, if he was wrong, then he has to acknowledge that it was wrong, and he's like, I'm so sorry, I know I'm, like, supposed to be a credible source. But also, he's just some guy using Twitter.
Yeah.
So, like, just let people be wrong. I don't understand why people don't want to let some people be wrong. Yeah. Like, you know, and if you, like, don't say anything about it, like, if he said something wrong and then, like, he sees people pointing out that he's wrong and then doesn't acknowledge it, that's obviously, like, oh, you should not do that. You should say, sorry, I was wrong. But, like, I think that they should let him make mistakes. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's, like, using it for, like, I mean, his persona is his profession, is, like, I guess his official thing, but it's not like he was publishing it in, like, a science newspaper with, like, research to back it up. It was just, like, a random thought that popped into his head. Mm-hmm. And also, like, yeah, I'm gonna die, but yeah, yes, a lot of animals, like, do die after they have sexual intercourse, but that doesn't mean that it hurts while it's happening. So, just...
Not that it hurts to die or anything.
I mean, but, like, it's
just a peaceful way to go. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. You know what I mean.
Yeah. I guess... I don't know how I feel. I'm not sure what followed. I don't remember. I think he deleted the tweet. I don't remember if he, like, posted an apology or anything like that. But I don't know. Like, on one hand, you're right. He does have the right to be wrong about things.
Yeah, he's just
but
a guy.
At the same time, he is a public figure who, I don't know. I feel like there is a level of accountability that... So, like... If he tweeted that, and I don't know if he apologized afterwards or something like that, like, that would have been, I would have been totally fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just feel like he does, because he's a credible source, you know? Like, the same way that, like, if Neil deGrasse Tyson had tweeted, hey, check out this EM drive that produces the thrust from nothing, I would have been like, oh, well, since it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, I guess I'll believe that.
Yeah.
But... There's just some level of accountability that comes when you have a public forum where you can post something that a lot of people can see, and they'll automatically trust you because of your reputation and your persona.
There is.
So,
but there's also the fact that this was a hypothetical in the first place.
That's true.
Like, it wasn't even like if animals had pain when they had sex, then they would have died out.
No, that's what the tweet was. It was like any animals that for which intercourse would painful would have died out already. Like, something that was it, like the way he phrased the tweet was in a declarative way, not like a hypothetical.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, still, I think that you are responsible for keeping people well informed, but I don't think that you should be, like, shat on for making a mistake on Twitter.
Yeah.
Regardless of who you are, because you're just a person.
Yeah.
And you make mistakes.
I think one more thing this ties into is, man, okay, so you remember the whole John Green hate phase, right?
It's still going on.
Yeah, I don't know what's... Anyway, there was a huge wave of it, like, a year ago?
Yeah.
Or so, for reasons that I don't really understand, but basically, there was like a huge list of things that people would say, like, John Green had done, and, like, among those things was, like, some of them were really serious accusations, like sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Like, some really crazy shit. And then he left Tumblr after that, so he doesn't have I mean, his Tumblr is active, but he doesn't use it anymore.
Aw.
Yeah, I don't...
Sorry.
I don't know if it's, like, because of all this stuff, or if it was just, like, you know, kind of a factor, but he's basically off Tumblr now. But do you think that people are more likely to spread misinformation if it's about a person that they already dislike? I don't know.
Absolutely. It's not even a question, man.
Yeah, that wasn't really a question. It was more of an observation.
Yeah, it's just, like, it's so... I don't know, like, people already disliked him because, like, he was a young adult novel writer, and he's, like, in his 30s, and he's, like, you know, shows his face and, like, talks a lot. So... Yeah. People are already annoyed by him, and they're like, oh, you know, I don't like him because I think I'm too good for young adult novels. And I don't like... I was about to say I don't like men in their late 30s, but that...
Obviously not true.
Yeah. No, it's just like, I don't know, there's so much about him that I understand that a lot of people would dislike him for it. Like, they're like, oh, why is he writing young adult novels if he's this, like, old guy? And then they, like, treat him like he's some sort of, like, you know, fedora-wearing nice guy dude. And I just feel bad for him, because he's just, like, this awkward old guy who just wants to write his books and be...
He's just so genuine and open about it, too. Like, he's not... Like, I can understand if he was... There are some celebrities who are really uneducated about kind of the social world and the way that social issues are.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like some celebrities just flat out will avoid it or just completely oblivious about it. But not, like, he's really, really in tune with kind of his own
ideals.
Like his own, yeah, and like he is super aware of his own privilege and he talks about it a lot, and like it's just mind-boggling to me that people really hate him. I don't know.
It's because he's part of a group that, like, gets those benefits that he is aware. Like, you talked about how he's aware of it. Like, they're just upset just because he's privileged, I think, for the most part. And, like, is that fair to him? No, but, like, it's, you know, it's just something that happens. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, and people have reason to be upset at these groups, right? It's not their fault that they, you know, hate these people so much. But, like, I think when you just, like, take it at face value and you're like, oh, well, he's just, like, some middle-aged guy that, like, you know, talks about stuff and he's popular, so I don't like him. And it's just like, okay, whatever, man. You can go ahead and hate him. It's just, don't directly be mean to this person. You know? Because there were people that were, like, sending him, like, hate and, like, you know, doing all this crazy stuff to him. And I feel bad just because he's, you know, like, they think that because he's, like, well-adjusted middle-aged guy, like, they're like, oh, whatever I do, it won't hurt him. But, like, it's just, you shouldn't do it anyways. Because it still sucks to have people tell you that you suck.
And I think people just couldn't find enough dirt on him, I guess, and they were angry, and they felt like they needed a reason to be angry, and I think that's why all of those weird accusations sprang up.
Yeah.
Like, there was, like, a whole Tumblr. There was, like, just a single Tumblr that was, like, only dedicated to, like, listing the reasons why John Green was horrible.
Yeah.
So, it's part of the culture of misinformation. I think it's just when people, when it's confirmation bias, right? If you believe in something and you see something that, confirms that, you're likely to share it, and you're likely to not question its source because it's something that you already believe.
And I think that another reason why people, like, disliked him so much and why they, like, accused him of, like, I don't know, sexual harassment or whatever, is just because, like, he was really open and, like, nice and, like, just likes to talk to people, right? But he's still, like, that very slightly bit awkward, so people are, like, I don't know, they're like, scared by him just because he's willing to talk to younger people, right? Like, especially younger girls. Like, like, they're like, oh, he's so...
that's his fan base,
Yeah, he's like, oh, he's so creepy, he talks to 14-year-olds, and I'm like, there's that, and also, like, they just like to make fun of him because, like, you know, he would try to defend himself, right? Like, he, like, at first he was just like, oh, this is untrue, and that's, you know, not very nice. Or there's a whole thing about, like, somebody's like, hey, John Green's gay, and he's like, well, I'm not, but, you know, it's not nice to use that as an insult. Right? And then people made fun of him, and they're like, hey, he's so scared of being gay, or whatever, and it's like, he's just, like, first of all, he's too old to understand. This is like if you tried to make this joke at your dad and he didn't understand, and I don't know why I keep using dad as an analogy, but it's pretty true. He's very, like, awkward dad-like. So, I don't know, it's just like, they're so upset just because he doesn't quite exist on the same wavelength, and he tries to respond in his own way, and they just, like, laugh at him for it, and I feel bad.
Yeah. I think there's always this rise and fall of celebrity, like, especially on Tumblr. It's just so bizarre. Like, do you remember when Taylor Swift's album first came out, there's this huge wave of people who were like, wow, Taylor Swift is so great. And they would, like, it was like there was this huge boom of, like, people analyzing her songs and talking about how, like, she'd grown and how like all the things that she was doing that was really great. And literally overnight, like a month later, everything turned around and everyone was suddenly like, Taylor Swift is the worst. And
well, it's because of her whole, like, claiming the audio thing, right? Or, like, copywriting, like, random lyrics in her songs. I think that was the main reason why people started to get upset at her, was because, like, she was like, oh, well, you know, I'm gonna copyright this phrase so nobody can use this phrase because it was in one of my songs, and everyone is just like,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that happened.
Wait, what was that about?
Well, it's still going on, right? Like, she basically, like, copyrighted a bunch of phrases from her songs so that other people couldn't use them without the right copyright. I can't remember any specific examples, but it's something that really did happen. And she's, like, her team is, like, very hellbent on, like, not letting anything use her songs for anything in any capacity, right? Like, they'll instantly take anything down or, like, make them, you know, pay Taylor Swift if it has anything to do with her, like, even remotely related to her music, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the main reason why people got upset, and I'm not sure if that was going on before, like, while people were praising her, or, like, it happened overnight and then suddenly people were really upset. But
yeah, it's just this fascinating. So whenever like, this happened with Jennifer Lawrence too, remember?
Yes.
Like years ago, like, there was this huge rise to fame and everyone loved her, and then, like, essentially overnight people turned around and just, like, believed that she was, like, the worst person in the world. And so every time now that I see a celebrity or someone being, like, praised endlessly, eventually at some point, you know, it's just gonna turn around and come crashing back down on them.
Yeah, it's just because people hate people who are popular, you know? Like, at a certain point, it's, like, cool, it's, like, at a certain point of popularity, it's, like, cool to like them because, you know, it's not, like, that mainstream yet, but once it hits the mainstream, especially on a website like Tumblr, people will get, like, upset and they'll be like, oh no, now I have to not like this person because it's mainstream to like them. Yeah. I feel like that happens a lot. But, to be completely honest, I don't like Jennifer Lawrence that much.
I don't really have an opinion. I just try and distance myself.
Like, it's not like I'm directly like, oh, she's a bad person, but she's just said so many cringy things, it just kind of, like, turns me off. Like, I'm like, eh.
It's so easy to be influenced by what you read online, especially when you're exposed to a lot of it.
Yes.
And I think that's, like, part of the reason, too, that these like, weird fake articles go around and, like, these, like, stupid misinformation on the internet happens, is because even if the amount of it you see is, like, low quality, if you see a lot of it and you read it often enough, you can just start to believe it. Like, it just becomes part of how you think, and it's not on purpose. Like, you just end up seeing it because of the circles that you circulate in. So you just have to be careful about what influences you have.
I think in the end it's mostly a matter of just being able to think for yourself, you know? Like, a lot of people, especially on the internet, because people kind of split into communities on the internet. I mean, people were doing it already, but, like, on the internet, it's pretty, like, intense and, like, super definitive. Like, oh, I am a person who does this, or I'm a person who uses this specific website, so therefore I am, like, you know, people like to split themselves into, like, communities, like, really big, and, you know, it's okay when it's kind of small and you know all the people, but when it gets to be a really big community, it can become, like, super problematic, especially if you don't question it at all, and you're just like, you know, whatever these people say, I will believe it too. But, like, I don't know, it's just, like, especially...
It's all about confirmation bias, right?
Yes.
You know, you want to hang out with people who are going to affirm your own beliefs, and on the internet, that's super easy, because communities exist for everything.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is find the people that you already agree with. There's a great CGP Grey video about this. I'll link to it in the show notes. It's called "This Video Will Make You Angry." Have you seen it?
No. I think I might have, actually, but I don't remember it right now.
Yeah, it went viral. It's a good video. It's basically about how like, confirmation bias works, and how things happen on the internet, and how communities can amplify their own beliefs, and how ideas themselves benefit from being like, challenged, and then because that challenge makes people cling more strongly to it.
Yeah.
So I'll put this link in the show notes if you guys want to watch it.
I just think that, like, I don't know, I was gonna say I really need for people to do this, but I don't need for people to do this. I just, for your own sake, you should look at something, like, from your own perspective and decide to form your own thoughts on it before, like, just immediately subscribing to this because what everyone around you or everyone that you like believes. Like, you should understand your own ideals and look at it from your own perspective, because, like, if you automatically, like, subscribe to whatever belief that the people around you are, like, that's not good for you. You need to be able to, like, you know, understand your own values and stuff.
And I mean, it's difficult too. Like, even if you can objectively understand that you need to challenge, like, preconceptions and that you shouldn't believe everything that just happens to go around.
Yes.
Yeah. It's still very difficult because you can understand that on an intellectual level and still have a hard time applying it. So it's kind of about practice, really. You just have to, you read something and you think, you have to have that metacognition. You have to think about what you're thinking about.
Yes.
And analyze that. So yeah. Oh, this topic got kind of dark.
It did. But, like, you know, I think, I don't know, it's just, like, it's so frustrating because even people that, like, I trust or that I like will often fall into that trap. You know, like, they won't think for themselves just because it's easier to just see what other people say and then automatically agree with it because you like them as a person. So, I don't know, I want people to think for themselves.
Just think a little bit.
Yes,
just think a little bit.
Use your brain for just a little bit of the day.
I was gonna say that probably wraps it up for this topic. Let's do one cool thing.
Wasn't this entire thing a one cool thing? But they're all fake?
Yeah, all of these fake cool things.
Yes.
I have a one cool thing that's real.
Really?
I know we were just... Yeah. I know we were talking about fake Kickstarter campaigns, but I have for you what I would really hope is a real Kickstarter campaign. Certainly doesn't seem like it could be fake. So I'm going to send you this link. It's called Moon, the most accurate lunar globe. So I saw this on Twitter the other day, and it is really beautiful. So basically these guys have taken 3D scans from NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, and they've put them together into a moon globe. So it's a topographically accurate representation of the moon. They 3D printed it first, and then they used that 3D print to create a mold, and they're casting basically globes of the moon that are, like, as accurate as they can get with the current scans of the moon. And not only that, but it's mounted on a base with a LED ring light that rotates around it, and you can set this LED ring to rotate to the actual sun, you know? So you can see accurately what the lunar cycles are in your current, you know, like currently in the sky, based on what this LED ring says. So, yeah.
That is really cool.
It is.
That is
really awesome.
Cool.
I would totally get one if it wasn't $400.
Oh,
no,
I thought it was going to be more expensive.
$641.
Oh, that's never mind.
Sorry, I was looking at the pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really cool. Man, I'd totally get one if I was rich. Can't wait until they come out with one for Mars.
That would be awesome. You could just have the entire solar system in your living room. Except it wouldn't be to scale. If it were to scale,
no, not at all. You'd have to stretch all the way down the block if you wanted it to scale, I think. So yeah, that's my one cool thing for this week.
That's cool.
Anything else that you want to bring up? Any news?
Oh yeah, did you hear about this amazing thing at NASA where they're making a warp drive?
Listen. Listen here.
Yeah.
Hold on one diddly darn second.
It's gonna be like the Starship Enterprise.
I'm gonna mute everything you just said. I'm just gonna cut it out. We're a legitimate source, Simone.
Really?
We're trusted
Are you
people.
actually gonna cut it out?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
That in.
I was so worried.
No, I wouldn't do that.
I was like, no.
I wouldn't destroy a joke.
Good.
What do you think? This podcast is already We need as much humor as we can get. Okay, that will wrap up our show for today.
Okay.
As always, if you have questions or comments or concerns, or if you want to complain about why alien astronaut theory is actually real, you can email us at negspacepodcast@gmail.com. Also, subscribe to us on iTunes, leave us a rating on iTunes. That would really be great. And if you want to see the show notes, you can go to samanthashay.com/negative-space. And that's where also you can find our YouTube channel and all of that good stuff. Have fun, figuring out what's real on the internet.
It's all fake.
All of it.
See ya.
Bye.